I'm Brianne Buell, VMware's Director for Healthcare and Life Sciences Solutions. I'm part of the Strategic Ecosystem and Industry Solutions team, also known as SICE, and we build solutions for the various vertical industries at VMware. I work very closely with our partners and with our field sales teams to build solutions that drive impact and outcomes for healthcare and life sciences companies. Life sciences overall is an industry that we've been paying very close attention to because there is such an immense opportunity around the digitization of nearly every aspect of pharma and biotech companies. From the drug discovery process through to clinical trials, manufacturing, distribution, the gathering of real-world evidence, and through general operations. During the pandemic, we've seen how crucial it is for these companies to respond rapidly to something like a public health crisis. And we learned a lot about how issues with things like supply chain and manufacturing and packaging can greatly impact how quickly medicines can get to the public. So my team at VMware, we're really excited to be working with life sciences companies that are such an integral part of public health. And when you think about impact in this world through work, I really can't think of anything bigger than this. So I'm going to start talking about how we view the life sciences sector. And if you're watching this, you probably already know what it entails, or you have your own ideas of what this entails. But I have been asked to clarify this more often than you could think. As you can see here, we include biotech, pharma, synthetic biology, medical devices and equipment, including diagnostics, scientific equipment and research lab services, which includes clinical research organizations and research institutes. Now, within VMware, the pharma companies really represent the largest customer segment within life sciences. And we see many of the biggest players like Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Boehringer, Merck, and Abbott Labs as these wayfinders in the push to digitize most aspects of the medicine's life cycle. So for example, we've got Johnson & Johnson, who have received 8 Lighthouse designations, which is more than any other company. And if you're not familiar with this, a Lighthouse designation was established by the World Economic Forum as a mark of excellence in manufacturing innovation. Next, when we look at the various market drivers, we start to understand where life sciences companies are looking to focus those digitization dollars. And those areas really represent the biggest opportunity for VMware and our partners to make an impact. The supply chain shortage was really felt across the globe over these past few years, and it exposes some systemic supply chain weaknesses. Those effects really filter down to the end customer, which in this case would be the patients. And this would show up in things like price increases or delayed orders and fulfillments, and in some cases, discontinued products. Then we've got the data interoperability piece, which has really come into play for life science companies that are looking to share and action data, not just internally, but also externally across research collaborations with payers and providers and pharmacies. And, there are things like the FHIR Open Healthcare Data Exchange and Modeling Standard that was created by HL7, and that has helped to drive data interoperability, but there are still several barriers, mainly relating to data interoperability and disparate systems. And we see a lot of potential in this area for data interoperability and integration to really power this push into precision medicine and the decentralization of clinical trials in particular. Which brings me to the escalation of cyber attacks. And this has been on the rise within the manufacturing sector in particular. we find that the manufacturing industry has typically been hit the hardest. So in pharma, these cyber attacks can shut down entire supply chains, it can halt manufacturing, and it really puts IP at risk. And we've seen pharma and the wider healthcare industry be a top target for cyber attacks in 2022. And unfortunately, we're definitely going to see more of this in 2023. And a lot of pharma companies are increasing the number of the amount of hiring activity related to cybersecurity positions. Then we've got Pharma 4.0. This is something we'll touch on in more detail in just a moment, but this refers to the integration of advanced digital technologies across a number of areas like manufacturing and drug discovery. And this typically includes introducing things like automation and data analytics and AI and machine learning, digital twins, etc. All those buzzwords. So we'll touch on VMware's role in Pharma 4.0 a little bit further in this presentation. But next is personalized medicine, which is a really interesting market driver because it's essentially reshaping the way that we view medicine, from how therapeutics are developed for a single individual and their specific condition versus thousands of patients or millions of patients, and what that means for the manufacturing process and the supply chain. So we have things like digital apps and genomic data being used as major elements of this kind of personalized medicines approach. And so what that really means for pharma is that they are now generating massive amounts of data related to biomarkers, genetics, phenotyping, and even digital endpoints that they then need to store and analyze and action. And then the next one is around the worker shortage. So on top of the materials shortage that we saw related to the supply chain issues, there's also a big skills gap in life sciences. Many of the top pharma companies have recently expressed how difficult it is to recruit talent. Pfizer is struggling to recruit in Massachusetts. Moderna has struggled, as well as a number of major CDMOs. It's not just a carryover from the pandemic, although that has played a major role, but it's difficult to find people who are trained on specific manufacturing processes and standards, especially in fields like cell and gene therapy, going back to the topic of precision medicine. So while VMware isn't a recruitment firm, we've been supporting companies with maintaining a smooth workflow for their remote workforce and finding ways to augment and automate processes so they can do more with less. And then lastly, there's been a legislative focus on reshoring medicines manufacturing, trying to incentivize life sciences companies to increase their domestic production of essential medicines so that they're less reliant on foreign adversaries and don't have as much exposure to things like supply chain disruptions. And then here we have some interesting numbers. So along that same train of thought, we see that about 74% of active pharmaceutical ingredients are produced outside of the US, with China and India being major sources. About 15 to 25% of producers are expected to reshore. 52% of life sciences leaders have said that talent scarcity has had the biggest impact on their business. $5.4 million is the average cost of a pharma breach, according to data pulled from 2021. And about 86% of companies are investing in post-digital technologies, which is directly tied to Pharma 4.0. So how is VMware enabling this digital transformation? Apologies for such a text-heavy slide, but essentially VMware's leadership as cloud and edge experts makes us a trusted partner for life sciences companies as they tackle all of these major challenges and opportunities. And I'd like to stress in the first paragraph under experience that we work with all of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies. So when you look to partner with us on solutions for this industry, just know that our clout in this area is so strong, and we're already addressing many of their forward-looking advancements around things like continuous manufacturing, precision medicine, AI and analytics, and sustainability. Now, as we transition to a focus on Pharma 4.0, I wanted to highlight this data point from ABI Research that shows how this area is expected to grow over the next several years, with a CAGR of 27% around data analytics alone. Now, Pharma 4.0 is the pharma industry's answer to Industry 4.0, and it refers to this revolutionary change that occurs through emerging technologies, connectivity, and automation. And while it typically encompasses an entire organization and its processes and culture, we see it most commonly used to describe how these advancements are being implemented in pharma manufacturing. And VMware is strategically suited for this upper right-hand quadrant of information systems as we directly impact network integrity, data integrity, traceability, and security. And we see the issue of siloed data and disparate systems and security as this recurring chorus of today's healthcare and life sciences IT world. And these are some of the main barriers to a scalable digital strategy for pharma manufacturing as well. So when you look at this slide and how the Internet of Things expands to all aspects of the pharma life cycle, you can just imagine the mycelial level of data that connects all of these various activities. Other industries likely have a very similar flow of connectivity, but pharma is different from other industries because of the regulatory environment. And this requires a very high level of expertise and oversight at every production stage. So things like end-to-end traceability across this life cycle has become extremely important, from the ordering of raw materials to that last mile delivery. There are new traceability requirements coming into play this November through the Drug Supply Chain Security Act. The current traceability requirements that have been in effect since about 2015 generally require products to be traceable at the lot level. But now this second phase of requirements allow for the electronic tracing of products at the package level. So going from lot level to package level. So now we're seeing more solutions that revolve around things like cloud labeling and blockchain technology, all of which VMware supports. Then, when we talk about the regulatory environment for pharma, it really exists to protect the patient. And Pharma 4.0 is also being driven by the need to increase patient safety. So when we look at biopharma manufacturing, for example, any change in things like ambient temperature, humidity, light, air quality at any point along the supply chain, all of those things can ruin a batch. So then things like IoT sensors that are designed to track these ambient variations have become a really key part of Pharma 4.0. They can aggregate real-time data for monitoring at a central hub. And companies are building apps to deploy at the edge for managing these IoT sensors. And so they can intercede or adjust processes whenever necessary. And our VMware Tanzu is a great example of how we can support in this area. Then within the smart facility itself, we have things like predictive maintenance, which has been one of the main desired outcomes for the manufacturing floor. So let's predict what can go wrong. Or better yet, let's figure out how to avoid the things that can go wrong. We can predict outcomes by using AI to run what-if scenarios, test out new facility layouts, and streamline production lines. So let's see how VMware helps. And I know that I've mentioned a couple of examples already, but if we take a closer look, you see we've really positioned ourselves at the heart of the digital plant. Building the best foundation for flexible factories, for smart factories, has become essential for the survival and a key for smart manufacturing and collaborative intelligence. And here at VMware, we have some of the best technologies that can help build that digital foundation. We've positioned ourselves, again, at the heart of the digital plant with VMware Edge Stack. And you can see on the right the basic architecture and components here, which includes our bread and butter Workspace ONE for simply and securely managing any app from any device anywhere. Our Tanzu application platform supports the building, running, and management of applications. And our VMware Edge infrastructure includes networking, compute, and managed cloud solutions. Then underlying everything that we do is our intrinsic security layer and multi-cloud connectivity. Our virtualization and automation technologies can reduce manual tasks. Our tools for data management, storage, and analysis can support the data explosion around manufacturing. And we have platforms for building and deploying AI and machine learning applications. Boehringer Ingelheim is a great example of a company that's implementing several Pharma 4.0 elements into their manufacturing process. Their newest facility in Vienna is the single largest investment made in the company's history, and it's one of the most advanced of its kind. They've included pretty much every buzzword you can think of, including electronic batch records and digital workflows, digital twin technology, virtual reality, and they're even using smart glasses for things like real-time observations and inspections and audits. And this is one of their facilities for biopharma manufacturing, which is a significantly more complex process than small molecules because these medicines are based on living organisms rather than chemicals. So to wrap up, this is an area we'd love to work with partners on. If you've used this presentation as a drinking game to see how many times I've said Pharma 4.0, I really hope you're okay. And for the rest of you, I've added my contact information in here to answer any questions you might have about our overall work within the life sciences industry and how we can partner together to bring impactful solutions to customers in this space. Thank you.